Nothing new when it comes to Mercedes. The Brackley-based team has struggled in yet another weekend in 2022, and many fans have been left devastated by what Hamilton had to say after the Singapore GP. The team is yet again in a downfall and is losing the battle with Ferrari for the P2 spot in the championship. The hopes of them getting the desired second spot in both championships have turned into utopia, and after Hamilton's statement, things aren't going to be the same for Mercedes in the remainder of 2022. So, before we declare our lights out and away we go, and start this video, subscribe to our channel in 3, 2, 1, go! Now that you've subscribed, buckle up because it's gonna be a bumpy ride. Do you see what we did there? Singapore GP is known as one of the bumpiest tracks on the calendar, apart from the demands that the track itself has upon the drivers. The humidity in Singapore went over 80%, which is something that drivers are having a very hard time accommodating. Speaking of accommodation, let's talk a bit about Mercedes and their season so far, more precisely how they haven't been able to accommodate the new rules in 2022. As you already know, Mercedes has been unrecognizable during the 2022 season. Hamilton came back for revenge over Verstappen, but the 7-time world champion hasn't had the best time of his life on the track. The W13 has proven as a very challenging car to drive for the 37-year-old, but if you ask his teammate Russell, he'd probably say that it's the driver and not the car. The younger Briton was able to deliver top-notch results in a very underperforming car, and that is something that has kept Mercedes so close to the P2 spot in the Constructors' Championship fight. But one-man show is never a good thing, and although Hamilton leveled up his game in the second half of the season, it seems like the sole goal that the team had this season, which is to win at least one race, has gone to vain after the Singapore GP. The Brackley-based team brought a pallet of upgrades here, and although Hamilton did capitalize on them by finishing P3 on Sunday and was just plus 0.050 away from the first pole position of the season, his race wasn't as smooth as he'd hoped to. Part of this goes to the ongoing problem that Mercedes has in 2022, which you already know about, and that is the performance of the W13 on city tracks. The low downforce tracks just don't seem to fit the 2022 version of the Mercedes cars, and that has been pointed out by Russell prior to the GP. However, hope dies last, and Mercedes did believe that they can score the first season win in 2022 here in Singapore, now that Max was behind in P8 due to a bad qualifying session. Yet, all things went in vain, and Hamilton was really disappointed when he spoke about it after the race. Although he was very positive after the free practice sessions and after the qualifying session, it seems like he has been hit by reality very fast and very strong, and that is something that he also pointed out after the race. Hamilton spoke about the rain, which was a massive factor for the Singapore GP, and he spoke about the accident in which he almost ended the race. After chasing Sainz and trying to pass him for so long, the Briton folded under pressure and hit the barriers with the nose of his car. Luckily for him, the car was still drivable, and he entered the pits to change the nose and the tyres as well. When talking about this, Hamilton said, "I'm not going to punish myself for one mistake. I think it was very tricky conditions for everyone. I think our car, whatever the problems that we have with it, it's magnified in the rain. It's a very, very hard car to drive in the rain. The car had its moments this weekend for sure, but it was not too bad. It's been hit and miss with this car. I think there were positives to take from the weekend. It's just a shame not to get many points for the team." However, this isn't the major problem that Hamilton faced during the Singapore GP. Sure, the rain was a huge factor, but there is one problem that the W13 has struggled a lot with, and that is tyre temperature. During all of the race weekends this season, the Mercedes car had a lot of trouble warming up its tyres, which is why Hamilton revealed that he wanted to start on a scrubbed set of intermediates instead of the fresh ones that were mounted on his car. The first few laps of the race were described as terrible by Hamilton, as he said, "It took several laps for temperatures to come up, and we can't fire our tyres up as quick as the others for some reason on wet and dries, and we don't really understand why." Rest assured that this was one of the most disappointing weekends for Hamilton. He finished P8 behind Vettel, and his teammate Russell finished outside of the points for the second time this career. The fact that both Ferrari drivers finished on the podium just goes to show that the Maranello team is dominating in the fight for P2, and although many things can change in the last 5 5 races, it's evident that Mercedes are in it for a bumpy ride. What do you think about Mercedes' chances of catching up with Ferrari in 2022? Let us know in the comments below.